Hey everybody, Brian Good here. Welcome to Storm Talk, sort of Derby Talk as well. We got a lot to discuss, but really it's a short term of our time frame that we really need to focus the most on. Not in the near short term, because overall we're good today. We've had this rain most of the morning, bands of heavier rain, some showers passing through. The actual front itself is back toward Evansville, and with it, just a narrow band of showers. But once it passes by, we'll be in the clear from the rain chance for the rest of the day. We're already seeing in between the two a little bit of sun trying to break through, some blue sky in between our current rain band and the actual front. The second thing that's happening is it will drop the temperatures a bit. There is a cool down that takes place when the actual front moves in, so we're still expecting a bit of a drop here in Louisville even as it moves in here. I would say close to about 9:30, 10 o'clock, and then we'll try to rebound from that this afternoon, although not a dramatic rebound, probably about a 10-degree jump from wherever we fall this morning. All right, so the wider setup involves this low pressure. It's got snow with it in Wisconsin. The front itself, again, is draped in this kind of a fashion to the south. This new low, which is the one that's going to be the thorn in our side for the weekend, is going to grab this front, and it is going to then, at that point, push it back to the north as a warm front, is the plan, as we head into Friday and into Saturday. That process is going to be painfully slow, and it's important because as it is going to dig into Texas and pull in that warm front, the amount of warmth and moisture being thrown at us is going to be tremendous. Certainly more of what we'd see in July, or even in some cases August. So the atmosphere of that stature being placed in late April with wind energy, then you see the problem that we eventually are going to run into with that kind of a deal. Now, for today, the severe risk is not really an issue because this front now is getting displaced from the main low up to the Great Lakes, so it's just a couple of gusty thunderstorms and that's it. However, tomorrow, you see the stripe here of marginal, slight, and enhanced. And yes, the enhanced encompasses a good chunk of wave country, including Louisville. This is mainly for Friday night for us. I would say after sunset is what we appear to be a level 3 out of 5, if you will. What is interesting about that is they have already included us in what we call the hatched area. Ignore the categories at the top because they don't match here with this. But the hatched area is mainly in the enhanced zone. And anytime we see that, it means that significant severe weather could take place. In this case, it looks to be large hail. We went through this before. We had several reports of golf ball size hailstones that covered the ground in some cases with that event back on the 5th of April. This event is similar to an extent, but the most dangerous part about this whole thing is not so much what it can do, it's so much about what it can do at the time of day that we're talking about, which is going to be during the overnight. I'm going to go through Futurecast, and I'm going to take you all the way through this event from Friday into Sunday night into Monday, the whole weekend. Then I'm going to backtrack, and we'll talk more about Friday night. Okay, so let's begin with tomorrow. The warm front placement is key, by far. It will begin to pull to the north as we head into the afternoon period. As that happens, we will see a tremendous amount of warming along this front and just south of it, and that will likely push us here into Louisville. Sorry, but it's real slow. It takes a while sometimes to download itself, so I apologize if I'm glitching right now or if my voice gets out of sync with my face. I apologize on that too. But anyway, mid-80s. Record, by the way, is 88. Now, once we hit into the evening, we'll start to see the thunderstorms begin to blossom wherever that boundary is. Now, here's the thing. If you get these type of supercells along the boundary itself, they usually are along the north of it, they are what we call the elevated type of thunderstorms. You can still get large hail out of those, but the tornado threat is not as high. If they develop just south of the warm front, you do have the large hail threat and the tornado threat to keep an eye on. So the placement of the front is key because you don't want to be just a hair south of it. You want to be north of it if you can be. But right along and just south of it, that is the danger zone, if you will. So the placement could still change once we get closer in time. Having said that, looks to be just after sunset, they begin to go up. That trend will continue as we head into the overnight. Several cells, and eventually they'll merge together. They will be the strongest on the southern flank where they're more exposed to the south flow, hitting the bottoms of them every time, or the southern flank of them. So the southern cells are the ones that have a chance to train themselves. So there is a chance that someone within wave country, and I would say, for sake, this map, say it's exactly right. I doubt it is exactly right, but this is, for example, Litchfield to, say, Frankfurt. there is a chance you could have several severe thunderstorm cells train over you, and each one of those could be severe. Meanwhile, to the north, it's with a bit heavier rain constantly, a couple of counties north of that, and then those who just to the south of that line, I just mentioned Litchfield to say Frankfort, you may not get anything at all. You probably will hear the thunder and see the lightning all night long, but you'll just be warm and muggy, and everything will be just to your north. So there's going to be a zone where repeated counties will see severe weather, the way this is playing out. So this is a tricky one for the overnight period. It's the most dangerous time because at that point you're dealing with everyone trying to go to bed or they're out and about. Not as many people pay as much attention to the weather. So there is a lot of concern here for this. That's why we'll make sure you're aware of this potential. And again, we'll break it down a little more in a second. Let's get into Saturday morning because obviously we've got some races going on. The balloon race at 7 and we got the mini and the main marathon at 7:30. It all will depend on how this all happens Friday night. So it's really hard to get specific for the marathon races here. Because it depending on how the boundaries are left over from the overnight thunderstorms will determine how the radar looks. There's a chance if we can calm the atmosphere down and stabilize it early enough, 5 or 6 a.m., there may be very little other than just an overcast sky, maybe some patchy drizzle in the morning. That may be about it. I wouldn't rule that out. So the thunderstorms may have a plus to them. By midday, though, the front should get far enough north we get into a warm and humid setup. Now, the reason why we can't take the storm chance out completely is because of that. You see what happens. It tries to bring in a band of thunderstorms. You see the arrows go everywhere. It's outflow is what that is. Pretty much like a downburst effect, if you will, a cooling wind, flowing the wind in all directions. So the placement of the front is key here on Saturday. We're thinking it's going to be a little more to the north than what is shown here. Therefore, we should get into the 80s, but that's something we'll have to watch too. Then as we get into Sunday, should be far enough north that most of the day looks dry and warm. But as we get into Saturday night, how quickly does the cold front portion out? It's going to be a completely different angle. The warm front is horizontal across the state, cold front north-south. So different setup here a bit as we head into Sunday night into Monday, but it may be painfully slow in getting through our area. And I think overall, flash flooding is certainly going to be a big headache for us this weekend. Okay, so let's go back. Friday afternoon. What you're looking at here is the cap. This is the lid on the atmosphere. If you get a lid on the stove and you got the steam, put the lid on it, steam can't go up. That's kind of what this is showing here. So that's why we're going with potential for record warmth. Friday, I think we'll be capped. But as we enter Friday evening, we lose the cap. Therefore, we become unstable and you get the thunderstorm reaction. And this is one reason why. These are dew points. You're talking about dew points in the lower 70s in some cases pushing into Kentucky like this. That is tremendous. That is oppressive for even July standards. That makes you just sweat automatically thinking about it. And that's the reason for a lot of this being elevated a bit when it comes to severe potential. When you look at the amount of energy the system's going to have, even some rotation that can take place, you get that naturally along the front anyway. It's there. So there is going to be at least somewhat of a trail threat. But the lifted index is off the chain. Some people think, well, because we're not getting sun, it's going to be overnight. How are we going to be unstable? You always say sun's got to be the thing. Not if you throw in an abundant amount of moisture. You can create destabilization that way. And that is the case in this. You got a lot of wind energy, but you're really throwing in a lot of moisture into the mix. You're creating a very unstable setup then. And that is what has to be really watched. And that's why we're talking about an impressive amount of lift that is happening in the atmosphere, and you can get it to these thunderstorms growing tall enough, of course, to get to the freezing level, and then you get into the hail issue. The shear, this is from the Schreff ensembles. 40 is my benchmark of what I like to consider a severe potential. You see we're almost there even today, but look at this. I mean, some of the ensembles take us up to 80 knot shear, but most of them average about 50 to 60. Whew, that's a lot. And the soundings do show that there is certainly a potential for some large hail out of this. The shear is crazy, 50 to 60 knots. The lifted index, negative 11 is the forecast, which is way high on that scale. So there's a lot of energy with this. It's just a matter of are we going to be on the front itself, or are these going to be elevated thunderstorms, or are going to be what we call surface-based? Got to figure that out. Real quickly, because I'm running out of time, for Derby week, we got the slow pressure here Wednesday into Thursday. GFS is more aggressive with it compared to the Euro. The ensembles kind of smooth out that idea as we get into Oaks. GFS is really cool with the cold air. Even a rain-snow mix in the Great Lakes for Oaks Day. The Euro is not. But the Euro doesn't match the ensembles either. So we're kind of going with the middle ground approach here for Oaks and Derby with cool weather, but not as cool as the GFS is showing, but a little bit cooler than what the Euro is showing as well. Whether or not it's going to rain or not, can't answer that question yet. We've got to figure out the little paths themselves next week to get that question. So stay tuned. We'll be talking more about Derby after we get past this weekend mess.